brought to you by FanDuel. Our friend Todd Fuhrman, our sports betting expert. The College Football National Championship will be seen on this network this Monday. It will be Washington and Michigan. The Wolverines opening up as 4.5-point favorites. Todd, is there an angle, a betting angle from the championship game that sticks out to you?
Honestly, Jay, when you look at the side, I think odds makers have done a tremendous job kind of hanging this number in no man's land, a touch north of the 4 and a touch south of the 6. When you look at Michigan's impressive overtime victory against Alabama, you can make the case that that final score was rather misleading, as if it wasn't for special teams, Michigan wins that game by double digits going away. And the same could be said for Washington, who did everything they could to squander the late lead against Texas. When you look at these two teams, Michigan wants to run the ball and beat you up physically. They want to use their physically imposing defense to try and get after the quarterback. And Washington, under leadership of Michael Penix, wants to spread you out and take advantage of NFL caliber wideouts that Michigan doesn't see week in, week out in the Big Ten. So for me, I think the total makes some sense to try and go over that number at 55.5 or maybe even in the first half. The biggest concern, though, I have with rooting for points in this game is these two teams operate at a snail's pace. Michigan, one of the slowest teams in all of college football.
Let's go to Week 18 in the NFL season. 4 division titles still up for grabs. Todd, do you see a betting underdog out there that could potentially unseat a current division favorite?
There's one that catches my eye, and I know it's a bit of a long shot here, Jay, and that's in the NFC South, the division that has defined the muddled playoff picture maybe all the way back since week 1. And you look at the improbable path in front of them for the Atlanta Falcons. They have to pull off a mild upset on the road against the New Orleans Saints, where they're right around a 3.5-point underdog. And they'll need some help from the worst team in the NFL in the form of the Carolina Panthers to upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those two money lines will pay you out right around 7-1. I think the Falcons make some sense as a flyer. Don't be surprised for a team that nobody's been able to figure out all season long if they sneak into the postseason as the 4 seed in the NFC.
That would be wild. There are a few playoff teams that are already locked into their seeds. They don't have anything to play for this week. We've already seen Lamar Jackson. His season's over. Is there a way to try to target some of these games early in the week before we know any of the other key players that might not be playing in them, Todd?
There was. The unfortunate reality right now, Jay, is the betting market for the NFL has gotten much more sophisticated over the years. Back when I was actually behind the counter, which feels like an eternity ago, we would wait until Thursday or Friday until we knew which players were available to be able to hang numbers, and still oftentimes got it wrong. But you look at a game like we're going to see on Saturday between the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, I waited for a lot of those numbers to open under the guise that maybe odds makers would slip up and they would make the Ravens a short favorite. Lo and behold, pretty much every book, including FanDuel, ends up using the Steelers as a road favorite. We find out Lamar Jackson and company that many of us expected not going to play in that game. The number continues to leak up. But the one piece of advice I'll leave with bettors that want to try and make a few bucks this weekend, odds makers know the teams that have to win to try and punch their tickets to the postseason, they're going to force you to pay a tax. And while it's not always comfortable betting some of these backup quarterbacks or what you deem to be inferior football teams, that unfortunately is where most of the value will lie during Week 18.
We've asked you all season, Todd, to eliminate teams from Super Bowl contention. It's been a fun little thing we've been doing with Todd. Well, we're here in Week 18, and now Todd's going to flip things on us. It feels like a bit of a cop-out, I can't lie. But, Todd, you're now going to switch this on us, and you're going to tell us the teams that you feel can actually compete for the Super Bowl. Tell us who you think's gonna make it.
I mean, Jay, I learned everything I know about TV from you. So when you're going in one direction and everyone thinks it's going to trend in a particular style or fashion, you have to flip the script and keep people on their toes. So I'll give you 5 teams in each conference that I think have a legitimate shot or somewhat legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl. And when you look at the AFC, no shock, the Ravens are up top, the defending champs and the Chiefs. And we'll throw the Browns, the Bills, and even a beleaguered Dolphins side into the mix if they're able to get a little bit healthier. And in the NFC, the improbable run that Brock Purdy has been on this year, the Dallas Cowboys, who nobody trusts in the postseason, and a Lions team that has been the Cinderella story of sorts despite being the NFC North favorite. But I think the Rams may be able to surprise some folks. But you know what, Jay? Because our loyal viewers have been so kind to me and me hedging my bets all season long, I'll give you a value play in the futures market right now for a team that I think can spoil the party. I think the Cleveland Browns, I'm not saying they're going to win the whole thing, but I think that's the single best price you can find in the futures market right now. And for those folks who tuned in about 4 or 5 weeks ago, hopefully they're also sitting with a Buffalo Bills ticket at 40-1 to win the Lombardi Trophy just the same.
Oh, man, any Joe Flacco success will be celebrated by old guys like me. Todd, before we let you go, how you feeling about everybody's picking the USA to win the World Juniors with Canada now eliminated in the quarterfinals? You picked USA to win this whole thing before the tournament even began. Is there anything to change that pick now that you've had a chance to see these guys play a few games?
I mean, Jay, I'm just thankful that Canada decided not to roll out a first line of Adam Fantilli, Connor Bedard, and, of course, Zach Benson, because it would have changed the dynamic a little bit for the maple leaf on their chest to be able to get there. But who knows? Maybe Team Canada convinced Bedsy with a little bit more eligibility to come back next year, go out there and score 50 goals in a 7-game tournament sample size. But I am a little bit worried about Team USA. I think if they run into Sweden in that gold medal game, it's always tough knowing that you have to go in there and silence the home crowd. I'll stand by the red, white, and blue, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Swedes finish atop the podium.
Well, I hope you enjoy the World Juniors on your TSN feed down in Vegas that we sent to you illegally. And we will talk to you after the full NFL playoff bracket has been solidified, but it's always great to chat with you, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Jay, the one good thing is we get the bootleg TSN feed that NHL Network runs, so we don't quite get the same coverage you guys do on TSN, but we'll take anything we can get for a little WJC exposure down here stateside.
I always appreciate an NHL Network mention, as I was the first ever on-air talent to appear on that network, and therefore created it and basically made it what it is today. Here's the schedule for the 2 Saturday games that you'll be able to see right here on TSN. Odds powered by our friends at FanDuel. Steelers, 4-point favorites over the Ravens. They're resting Lamar Jackson. Second game sees the Texans as a slim 1.5-point favorite over the AFC South rivals in Indy. Remember, whichever team wins is guaranteed a playoff spot.